Good afternoon, friends. I trust that we are all okay this afternoon. We thank God for His grace and His mercy. We thank Him for the gift of life. This afternoon, we are looking at Genesis chapter 35, and the topic of our talk this afternoon is still about Jacob, and it says that God blesses and renames Jacob. God blesses and renames Jacob. Verse 1 says, God said to Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there. Make an altar there to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau. Verse 2, So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, Put away the foreign gods that are among you and purify yourselves and change your garments. Verse 3, Then let us arise, go up to Bethel, so that I may make there an altar to the God who answers me in the day of my distress, and has been with me wherever I have gone. Verse 4, So they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods that they had, and the rings that were in their ears. Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree that was near Shechem. Verse 5. And as they journeyed, terror fell upon the cities that were around them, so that they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. And Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And there he built an altar and called the name El Bethel, because there God had revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. Verse 8. And Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried under an oak below Bethel. So he called his name Allon Bakuth. Verse 9, God appeared to Jacob again, and when he came from Padan Aram and blessed him. Verse 10, and God said to him, Your name is Jacob. No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. So he called his name Israel. Verse 11, and God said to him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your own body. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give to you, and I will give the land to your offspring after you. Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him, and Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone. He poured out a drink offering on it and poured oil on it. So Jacob called the name of the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. Verse 16. Then they journeyed from Bethel, where they were still some distance from Ephrath. Rachel went into labor, and she had hard labor. And when her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, Do not fear, for you have another son. And as her soul was departing, for she was dying, she called him Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. Verse 19, So Rachel died, and she was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. So Jacob set up a pillar over her tomb. It is the pillar of Rachel's tomb, which is there to this day. Verse 21, Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder, While Israel lived in that land, Reuben went and lay with his father's concubine. Reuben went to lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. Now, the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zabulon. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant, Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. And verse 27. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Verse 28. Now the days of Isaac were 180 days. And verse 29. And Isaac breathed his last, and he died and was gathered to his people, old and full of years. And his sons, Esau and Jacob, buried him. So this is Genesis chapter 35. The first part of chapter 35 talks about God giving Jacob the instruction to leave for Bethel. Jacob obeyed, and he talks to his family and tells them that we will be living here, so you should put away all your foreign gods. And he says that I want to go and build an altar for the God who has answered me when I was in distress, and who has been with me wherever I have gone. So Jacob makes a confession. He says to his family, God has been with me wherever I've gone to. And even when I have been in distress, God has been with me. So put away all your foreign gods so that we can leave this place and go where God has instructed me to go to. Jacob says that God has been with me, not God has been with us. Because now he is no longer just by himself. He has a family now. If God has been with him, that means God has been with his family too. I don't know why he's talking about him, God being with him only, not his family. He should have remembered that God has been with his family too. And then the other thing to point out from that first section is the fact that he says to them they should put away foreign gods. Where have they come from? Jacob has been a faithful man. He has had a good relationship with God. He has had his shortcomings, but in general, he has maintained the good relationship with God. But we find foreign gods in his house. How did they come into his house? Was it the failure on his part? Or was it his family? Was it that his family has disobeyed and gone out into the world and brought in foreign gods? And if he has seen them do that, what has he done about the situation? Why has he let foreign gods come into his household as a man of God? This is a very, very interesting um, part of this story. But I'll put the same question to us as God's children. In your household, are there no foreign gods? If they are there, how did they come in? Who brought them in? Did you see them coming in? What did you do about them? As the leader of the house, as the father of the house, as the mother of the house, as God's child, why have you allowed foreign gods into your household? Why have you allowed foreign gods into your life? God is encouraging you this afternoon that you should get rid of the foreign gods. They have no place in your life. They have no place in my life. They have no place in your household. Only God should be present in your life. Only God should be present in your household. They journeyed. And as they journeyed, we are told that terror from God fell upon the cities around them. And they feared them. They did not attack them. They had free passage until they got to Bethel. And when they got to Bethel, Jacob builds an altar for God in Bethel. And it is said that he called the place El Bethel. And unfortunately, when they were there, Rebecca's nurse died and she was buried. It was a sad journey because Deborah died, who was Rebecca's nurse. You know, in this journey, we also have our loved ones dying. But let's keep ourselves focused on that new Jerusalem where we're going. In this world, we'll have troubles, but let's keep our heads up and waiting for that great day where we will meet our loved ones. As we continue with the other part of the story, God appears to Jacob once again. And he says to him, I will change your name from Jacob to Israel. And he says to him, be fruitful and multiply. He says, a nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your body. So this was a blessing that God was repeating to Jacob. He had said this to Abraham, who was Jacob's grandfather. And he says it to Jacob. Now he says that I will bless you and your family shall be, kings shall come from your family and your offspring. This land I will give you to you and to your offspring as well. They will live here forever. There will be kings in this place. This was a blessing that God was giving to Jacob. And God is saying to me and you this afternoon, if you obey me, I will bless you too. Your family shall have kings. I bless you in the land where you are. This is one of the lessons that we get from this passage. And as we continue with the story, the other part is another painful part where Rachel died. She went into labor. And we are told that it was hard labor. And when it was at its hardest, she lost her life. And before she died, she named the child Benoni. But Israel or Jacob changed it to Benjamin. And it must have been the hardest time for Jacob at this time, that his favorite wife died at this place. We don't hear him complaining or mourning about what had happened. He was rather quiet. Rachel was buried. And then they went to a place called Edom. And they stayed there a little bit. And Reuben did something which was wicked. He slept with his father's concubine, or one of his father's wives. That was disrespect on the part of Reuben. That was uncalled for. He wasn't supposed to do that. But well, we are living in this world where people can do just anything. And Israel heard of it. And what surprises me is that Israel or Jacob did not say anything about what Reuben did. It's rather surprising. And for me, it shows that he was kind of overwhelmed, I think, by the way things were happening. He had kind of lost control he had kind of lost control now, because things were just happening and he wasn't saying anything. He wasn't even doing anything. We don't see him reprimanding either Bilhah or Reuben. He just keeps quiet. I don't know what happens in your household. Do you have control of your household? Or you have a situation like this one that Jacob had or Israel had, where everyone does what they want in your household? God should rule our households. We should not have things like these happening in our households, because we are the light of the world, because we are the salt of the earth. So things like these should not be allowed to happen, because our homes should be the homes where Christ rules, where God rules. And as we round up with another sad story. Jacob, or Israel, goes to where his father was, Isaac. And when he got there, before long, his father also died. It's good that he and Esau had reconciled this time, and they buried their fathers. it ends on a good note. The brothers burying their father together. We know the history of what had happened, but when it got to this point, they had settled what had happened. And the big question is that, have you settled the things that could be happening in your family? Maybe you've fallen out with your family, your siblings, or your parents. How long will it take for you to reconcile with them? Especially if you are a child of God, you are not expected to keep grudges. You have to forgive people. You have to live at peace with everyone. You have to love everyone. May God bless us as we think about this story and also as we think about our own lives. Let's love one another. Amen.